Hello everyone and welcome to Left Off the Map for another episode of yummy food and interesting places around Tasmania. Today we're heading to Launceston, which is the biggest city in the northern half of Tassie. It's about an hour from where I live here in Sprayton, and we're going to the Tasmanian Butter Co. with a great friend of mine, Bianca Welsh, co-host of this show. She's going to show us around a few little things in Launceston, but also we're going to get a look at Tasmanian Butter Co.'s new bakery. So, to get into a butter episode, I thought I'd do a butter recipe. We're going to make the ultimate potato bake. So, lots of butter, lots of creme fraiche, lots of flavour. It's one of those things that is every now and then dish. Right. Good for if friends are coming over or you're having a barbecue and you want to impress. So I'll grab 3 of these potatoes of water, bring that water to the boil. Once it gets to the boil, let it boil for about 5 minutes, then turn it off, let it sit until it sort of settles, then take it out. That's all you need. It's just gonna help that cooking process in the oven. So while they do that, I'm gonna make my sauce. My sauce, butter. You need about, depending on how hard you wanna go here, anything from 25 grams to 50 grams of butter. So a good amount. My bacon. So butter and bacon. I guess if you're gonna call something the ultimate, it better be the ultimate. So it needs to be a bit luxurious, it needs to be packed full of flavour, and that's what we're gonna make. So I wanna gently saute this. I'm gonna add a little bit of garlic in a minute. I'm gonna gently saute that down until my bacon is starting to brown but not going crispy. Remember, it's gonna get a little bit more cooked in the oven, so we don't do all the cooking here. So it starts to brown a little bit, but it isn't crispy yet. Then I'm gonna reduce or add about a cup of white wine and reduce that down by half. So that started to melt. I'll grab my garlic. Just some thin slices. Pop that in. Another one. So 2 cloves of garlic. You can make as much of this as you want if you've got lots of friends coming over or you're going to pig out yourself. I'm making enough for probably 4 to 6 people. So enough to fit in this dish here. But you could make heaps of it. You can make something 4 times the size of that if you wanted to. All right, give this a stir. You're gonna get some awesome smells. Butter, garlic, bacon. Your kitchen is going to smell unreal. About 5 minutes, gently cooking. We're trying to gently build our flavours up. So I'm starting to get some golden bits on my bacon, which is good. So now I want to add my white wine. So got a Pinot Gris, so nice and acidic. Now I want to reduce that down to about half a cup. So these have just come to the boil. They've got about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to turn them off, wait for it to settle, and then I'll get my potatoes out and allow them to cool a little bit. So that's reduced down by about half, and my potatoes should be good to come out. I just want to see if they're slightly tender, which they are. So that's good. Add my creme fraiche to this. It's about a cup. And then emulsify that together. Or just stir it together. So I just want to let that bubble away and reduce by about 1/3 this time. My potatoes can come out. I'll just steam dry, so I can just leave them sitting there. That has reduced by about as much as I want it to, so I can start getting my herbs ready. Just gonna roughly chop parsley, spring onion, and thyme. So pop your fresh herbs into your sauce. That's just a fantastic sauce on its own. You could toss that through a pasta and be really, really, really happy. And leave these for 5 minutes or so, just until that steam finishes coming off them. I'm just gonna pour my sauce over the top of my potatoes. This is one of those dishes that you just know people will love. There's no risk here. You're not taking any risks. All right. In it goes, 180 degrees. Now, it's not a full-on bake. We don't want crispy, crunchy potatoes. We're just trying to get everything to mingle together, reduce that sauce down a little bit more, maybe get a little bit of colour on top. So now we're going to head off to Launceston with restaurateur and good friend of mine, Bianca Welsh. Launceston is Bianca's hometown, so if anyone's going to know the best spots to hit, it's Bianca. And this is one of her go-to places for coffee and baked goods. Hello.
Hi Ben, take a seat.
You know, I've never been here.
Really?
How long has it been here?
I think about 1.5 years now. This is one of my favourite cafes, bread and butter.
When you said meet me here, I had no idea where it was and I'd never heard of it.
Yeah,
It's
right.
beautiful though, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so many cool, funky places in Launceston in particular that give you a really good canvas to do something with.
Absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
Stillwater is like that, and still the new accommodation there, it gave you this wonderful frame to work with.
I think that's what makes Tassie really unique is the incredible spaces. They're all quite different, I think, you know, from different eras of Tasmania.
Yeah, as it made its way through different parts of history, and you can see that just walking around the streets.
Yes.
So what are they known for? Is it just brekkie and lunch, or how's it?
Yeah, and they started out as a butter company,
Yeah.
Tasmanian butter company.
Is that
Yeah.
right? Now I'm putting two and two together. This is Tasmanian Butter Co.
Yeah, and then went into
Wow.
baking as well. So,
I've heard so much about Tasmanian Butter Co.
have you had it yet?
I haven't had it.
Oh,
I haven't had it.
you're in for a treat.
Wow, that's the
Thank
money
you.
shot.
Yep,
Look at
that's beautiful. Yeah, so these are
Yeah, that's
little
the
gold packets of
Yeah, that I know really well.
absolute
I've
gold.
seen that little packet everywhere. Oh, yum. I am a butter. I actually went away from butter for a while
Yep.
as a cook, and then I've sort of come back to it. Because there's all that talk about oil and how good it was for you and blah, blah, blah. But good butter, there's nothing beats good butter.
Nothing better. We use this at work
Yep.
and we spread it on like almost like pate
Yeah.
because it's so good.
Oh, yum.
Just really layer it up.
All right, what's the best way to eat a croissant?
Well, gosh, I don't know.
Is there No, I just... See, everyone cuts it like that because they want to see whether it's the person who made it knew what they were doing.
Yes,
Because that is the indicator of, yeah, you've got some game and you know how to make
it's
one.
perfectly
Yeah.
aerated. Is
Yeah.
that what you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the croissant is the layer upon layer upon layer upon layer with that butter between it to get it to puff every time.
Have you tried making croissants?
Once, and I was terrible. The best croissant I've ever had was Alistair Wise, Sweet Envy in Hobart.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the best. So this will be good to see how this goes. All right, let's go. You take that half, I'll take
Yep.
this half.
Oh, you're going to go straight on.
I'm just going to go
straight on that one.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin the whole.
There's a beautiful savouriness of cultured butter. It's just got that extra layer of complexity.
You can see why the French, that's all they need.
And
in
they're
the
still so
morning.
skinny, that's not fair.
Because it's so satisfying though. Like you just have that and a good butter, good croissant and a good coffee in the morning and you're a satisfied human. Oh, yum. Really good butter and really good bread play a huge role, I think, in anyone's enjoyment of brunch, or in this case, dessert. So it's bread and butter pudding, but a slight little tweak on this one to push it more into the festive season. So I'm going to use bread and butter, or the base of the bread and butter pudding that we had in the restaurant, which is this really good quality fruit loaf sourdough. There's a lot of dried fruit in there already. And I've just chopped it up into sort of little 1 centimetre dice. I like a bit of bite in the bread and butter pudding. So I'm going to put all of this sourdough, and it was a mini loaf, so it was a half loaf of sourdough. So I've got that in there. Here we've got some prunes, a decent amount of prunes in there as well. You want it to be nice and fruity. So rum, even though this is an unspiced rum, still has a spicy note to it when you mix it with dried fruit, I find. So I want a good amount of this, about 60 mils, so about two nips. So pour my rum over the top of my bread and prune mixture. So I've used about half that bottle. So what have we got? About 100 mils I used then. Now I want to let that soak. So we'll give it a bit of a toss around. I could probably almost do with, let's soak that up pretty quickly. So I'll let that sit and soak. Now I'm going to make my custard. So I need some sugar, caster sugar, about a cup. We've got 350 mils of cream, so about a cup and a half of cream. Eggs. So I'm going to go 5 eggs. Normally you'd probably put 6, but I just think that was a much smaller loaf than I would normally get. All right, vanilla. About 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And we really are allowing that fruit loaf sourdough and the rum to be the driver of flavour in this. So we're not putting anything else in our custard apart from that vanilla. So now I'm going to mix everything together. All right, that's mixed nicely. So I'll just give that bread another 5 minutes to continue sitting in that rum for the prunes to soak up and become plump and fill up with rum. And then I'll bring my custard and my bread together. My custard and bread mix has been sitting for about 20 minutes. And it's had a chance to sort of soak up. You can see there's no real pools of custard in there on their own anymore. So this is our roasting tray that we're going to put our bread and butter mixture in. And then once you've put this in here, you can let it sit again for a bit longer so that your bread soaks up a little bit more of that custard. But like I've been saying, I actually like it a bit crunchy. So even all that out, time for the butter component. So you've got a few knobs of butter. Just want to dot them on top. And as that cooks, the butter will melt, it will seep into the pudding and make it a little bit more luxurious, which, geez, probably doesn't need to be any more luxurious, to be honest. But that nice sort of salted butter flavour is fantastic. A little bit of salt on top, just on that butter. And then raw sugar, demerara sugar or brown sugar, just the top of there. So just over the knobs of butter again, and almost make a bit of a caramel as that butter melts, a little crust on top. All right, so we've got a good coating of everything we need. That goes in the oven now at about, got my oven set too high. Just want to drop that down to about 140. Pop that in. And that'll take about 40 minutes at 140. My bread and butter pudding has been out of the oven for about half an hour to 45 minutes, and I sat it in the fridge for that period of time just to cool it. If you want to portion it up to control the amount going to each person, or just to make it a little bit neater and tidier, you can take it out. Then you've got sort of a slab of bread and butter pudding, which you can carve up into portion sizes. You can go onto a plate, got our whipped cream. Our quenelle. And then I always like just a little bit of salt on top of your cream just to finish. And that's bread and butter pudding. If you want to take it to almost the restaurant level, there's no reason why you couldn't straight out of the oven. You probably wouldn't need this baking paper if you were going to serve it that way, and just get stuck into it out of the baking tray. So for me, I think the addition of that rum and that dried fruit that soaks that rum up and gives it that spicy rum flavour, I think that's what makes this dish all plum puddingy and makes it feel like a festive season any time of the year. So to finish off our day looking at butter, I'm going to show you how to make a compound butter. So you need a good amount of butter. I've got 250 grams. So we've got basil and parsley. We've got garlic, and I'm going to use the zest of the lemon. All the butter goes in, and this could not be easier. I'm going to whiz that first. This is salted butter. I like salted butter, but if you want to control the amount of salt in it, obviously use unsalted butter. All right, so once we've got that process started, the butter has started to sort of break down, and we've got basically a butter paste, and the butter started to warm up a little bit, so it's becoming a little bit more pliable. Our parsley can go in. Just scrunch this up into a tight ball, slice it up, really fine slice, turn it around the other way, you run your knife through it. It is going to get blitzed again. Now you could use dried parsley if you wanted to. I like fresh herbs. I always choose fresh herbs over dried if I get the opportunity to do so. So my parsley can go in with all my butter. Now butter's a great preservative, so the parsley is just going to stay there in the fridge, in the butter, like that. Same with our basil. All right, basil can go in. And the last two things I want to pop in, just get a microplane, grate in probably 2 cloves of garlic, I reckon. Grate that in, and then I'm just going to zest 1 whole lemon and pop that in as well. Another thing that you could add into this, which would go well with most things, is some chilli. So some finely chopped chilli. Just taking that zest off. I want as much of this zest. It just freshens the butter up. Butter, being butter, can be a bit cloying. Lid back on. So butter's done. Lots of different ways that you can keep this butter. I find you could just put it into a container and put a lid on it, and that'll do. I find a little bit of cling wrap. Get all of our butter out. Once you've got it on your cling wrap, just roll it over and kind of pull it nice and tight and push it out nice and tight and roll again and again. Pull tight, roll, 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 roll. twist it around like that and you'll get this little log of compound butter that you can pop into your fridge, and then as you need it, you can just unwrap your cling film, cut a little round off, throw that round on top of a steak or put it in the pan before you're about to cook some chicken. And it's a great way of, again, with not a huge amount of extra effort, imparting more flavour using butter and some fresh herbs that you've got lying around. It was great to go to Tas Butter Co.'s new cafe, or reasonably new cafe, Bread and Butter, and see how important butter and pairing butter with croissants or great sourdough or baking goods is to them. So we'll see you next time, Left Off the Map.